Hey, everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a very special guest also in the corner. Would you like to unveil your identity to the masses?
Sure. This is Tom Wayland, everybody. How you doing? Coming to you live from New York City, sitting in the very studio where I record and direct Pokemon every week.
I feel like you guys must have a lot better weather than down here, because it's really hot.
Oh, it's hot here, but it's the different kind of hot because I've been to Vegas and, it's hot, but it's the dry heat. But even so, 100 degrees, dry or wet, is still pretty nasty. Right now, it's about 95 and thick. So we're having a rough week, heat-wise.
The worst I've seen in humidity has been California at Disneyland, so,
Yeah.
I've been, saved from not being stuck with the frizzy hair and everything else.
Excellent. My hair knows how to behave, no matter what the humidity is. So
I was gonna say, when I was doing, my recon, stalking you on the interwebs, figuring out what you've done, through your life, I was gonna say your hair's so rocker. You could totally hang, headbang with that.
Yeah, well, it's I've had this for a very long time, and I'm very happy with it. And it gets me work sometimes, which is a good thing. So, because you never know when I get calls from agents and casting people for like long hair guy stuff, because I have a very particular type. So I was actually in a commercial that aired in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, playing a dude that gets mistaken for a chick because of my long and lovely hair. So that was pretty good. And like last year, I do audiobooks, in addition to like anime and all the other stuff. And last year I got, picked to do an audiobook. I read the autobiography of Dave Mustaine. And Dave Mustaine, all the metalheads out there know who I'm talking about. He's the founder of the band Megadeth and was also one of the founders of Metallica before they kicked him out. And I know that the HarperCollins people were like listening to different selections, and they looked up pictures of what we looked like, and as soon as they saw me, they were like, use that guy. So,
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So, anyway, yeah.
So let's go way back to when you didn't have, your luscious locks and when you were in diapers. What originally got you into acting? Where did the spark start?
When I was a kid, I did a lot of, role play kind of playing, and I'm not even talking about like Dungeons and Dragons, but like finding an old refrigerator box and turning it into a spaceship, and you know what I mean, and like that kind of play, playing Star Wars with my friends, and I'm Luke and my buddy's Han, and so I always had that kind of interest when I was a little kid, and when I got into school, I don't know, I was a little more of an academic until maybe I got to high school, and then I started to flourish as an artist, I suppose, with music and theater and whatnot. And the one thing that I remember above anything that to me was really like a major turning point for me was when I was a freshman in high school, and it was like some honors English class or something like that, and we had to do projects based on one of the plays or books that we had read that year. And the project that I selected, or the subject I selected, was A Streetcar Named Desire. And what I did is I wrote an additional scene that would have taken place just after the end of the book. And so I played, I wrote it and I performed it as Stanley Kowalski, who, of course, that role is made famous by Marlon Brando on stage and in the film. And I got up and did this by myself, like in front of the class, and I think they brought in another class, to kind of watch these presentations. And I think I was a little self-conscious before then. Like, I was, good with my friends, and I was funny and a wise ass, like breaking out jokes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, this is the first time I got up and did, like, a dramatic performance. And if anybody who's ever seen that, and if you haven't, by all means, read it, watch it. It's a classic. Stanley is, like, he's a beast. He's kind of a savage, and I wasn't that kind of person, but I really dug into the role and let loose, and it felt really good. And a lot of people who saw it were like, oh my God, I haven't seen that side. That was really amazing. And that, I think that kind of felt like, wow, you know what? I think maybe I can really do this. I had an interest in that sort of thing, but right then and there, I think I gained a ton of self-confidence. And then, by my sophomore year, I was like, bagging the leads in all the shows and everything after that. So, and it kind of took off from there.
Well, that's cool, and I'm sort of curious how you found professional acting outside of school theater and things like that.
Well, I went to school I went to college at NYU, and I ended up majoring in acting. So, while I was there, you make a lot of contacts, this, that, and the other, and I started doing theater. I did start doing professional theater then. At the time, I liked it, but I don't think I was really as driven or committed as I could have been. Because, when you're in college, are you in college, Jackie?
No, I'm not. I sit on my butt all day and I don't do anything.
That's okay, but I'm just saying, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, it is almost unrealistic for people to expect you to know exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life.
I agree.
But a lot of 18-year-olds are asked this. And there are many kids who are like, oh, well, I want to, do pre-med, and I want to go to med school, and I want to be a doctor, and then they get on that path, and they do it, and good for them. And if it makes them happy, even better for them. But with a lot of people, especially artistic types, we're all doomed to kind of forever be slightly unhappy or dissatisfied because, with creative stuff, nothing is ever necessarily perfect, or you're never really finished, or you never really, there's always different interpretations and different ways you can do things. But whatever, I was studying that stuff in school, but I don't know, I was sort of on the fence a little bit with it because the people that I had class with, other actors, were annoying. And
yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of the other people in the drama department. Some of them I really liked. Some of them I didn't. Some people used, acting studio time like it was therapy for them. And I'm like, I don't care about the skeletons in your closet, You're eating up my class time with your sob stories. And I'm insensitive, but still, that's kind of how I felt. And also at the time, I'd gotten into music much more. I started playing in bands and having some success there. And when weighing sort of, actor versus rock star was winning. So I was kind of leaning more in that direction.
Well, you had the hair for it.
Thank you. But, I was getting into doing professional theater, picking up little bits, like movie gigs, things like that, like I was in, I would do extra things or featured extra stuff. I think I did a couple of commercials for MTV, and I was in, like, The Crow, the Brandon Lee movie, which is funny because I don't know, Michael Sinter-Nicholas, who is an anime guy and does a lot of the same kind of stuff that I do. We were in the same scene, apparently, but if you've ever seen The Crow, it's like one of the scenes in one of these underground clubs when My Life with Thrill Kill Cult is playing up on stage, and all the kids are like, moshing around and going nuts. Apparently he was there too. So, because they shot it down in North Carolina, I think that's where he was living at the time.
I have the soundtrack for that film.
Yeah, there's some good songs on it. But, so I did stuff like that, but then I got more into the rock and roll, and I was playing with my bands and having success. We were booking a lot of gigs and all that, and that's not professional acting, but it is performing professionally, So I was doing that, and we would tour a little bit, and that became more the focus of my life, like, especially by the time I graduated and just after, like, that's what I did. I just, I was a rock star. I just played music, and it was great. So that's how I kind of got started with my professional performing career. But with that sort of thing, it's tough because you never know where your next job is going to come from or your next gig or whatever. And, so you end up having to get jobs along the way. I worked in a restaurant for a long time. Not that long, I guess, but like a couple of years on and off, there's a place called the All-Star Cafe, which is in Times Square. It was a big sports theme restaurant. It's not there anymore. It's where Planet Hollywood is where it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Planet Hollywood owned it, but that was interesting because I was like the AV guy there because I guess of some of my background with working with the band and stuff like that. It gave me a little more technical knowledge. So I was like the AV guy, but also it being a sports place, I'm a big sports fan. So I would interview all the sports celebrities and people when they came in for like the local news. So I got a lot of interaction with people like that, which was kind of fun. But also that got me into more sort of in the voiceover realm, like broadcasting kind of stuff, because I would call games and I would do things like that, We shot a couple of TV shows there that I would do announcing stuff for, a couple of like sports TV shows that played on like Fox Sports and things like that. So that all kind of, I guess, added to my experience. But how I got into anime and voiceover and stuff, pretty much it came to a point where the band stuff just wasn't happening anymore.
Uh-oh.
Well, being in a band, it's like having like 3 or 4 girlfriends all at once, and then when something's not working, you all got to sit down and you got to talk about it, and it's just, there's a lot of emotions going on and stuff, and there's varying levels of maturity and patience that go with that. So, I had 2 main bands then. One of them was kind of a metal band, but sort of complex, like the band Tool, if anybody's ever heard them. And I played drums for that. And we had a lot of success. We had more like label success. We had an indie deal, and especially that was at a time when it was more difficult to get an indie deal and get an album produced, so we had that done. But I also sang for another band that was more like 70s Aerosmith, kind of real, loose rock and roll. And that I loved because the lead guitar player is my best friend, and we used to play gigs all the time. So we didn't have like a label deal, but we had a lot of success playing live, and we would play up and down the East Coast, sort of from Boston to Atlanta. But that wasn't really producing a lot of money. The other band, we just broke up, and I needed to get a job, and I saw an ad in the New York Times for like a DVD producer for some company. So I, applied, and it was Central Park Media. Do you know Central Park Media, Jackie?
I do, actually. Before you came on, I was like, this is going to be cool. We're going to talk about Central Park Media. I have their DVDs for Shamanic Princess and Utena, and to make us both feel old, I have the VHS for Maze.
All right. Yeah, well, that, I got a job working for CPM. It started out as a DVD producer, but pretty quickly I moved over and was in charge of producing all their English language versions. So I was like, producing all the dubs, and, through doing that, when you work for a company, any company, honestly, it's all always about money,
Yeah, I understand.
And so every year it would be like, how do we cut the budget? How do we cut the budget? How do we cut the budget? That's one, just as a little industry tangent. The numbers that were being paid to dub shows 10 years ago were way higher than the numbers now,
I keep hearing that, yeah, like, a lot of people don't want to go on record and say it, like, for instance, live like this, but I'm happy that you're willing to. I've heard it behind the scenes.
Oh, it's absolutely true. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to give you exact dollar amounts and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but, and I know what people outside of myself, have been paid or had paid for things done. I mean, pretty much, but things were about double what they are now. Like, as if you were to do, more of like your straight up standard, stuff like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. Those don't really count because they're just these giant, huge entities. But some of your stuff that exists more as a straight to DVD release, something that is really for the fan, the otaku market, as opposed to something like Pokemon, which is so mass marketed to everybody. the budgets on that stuff are like half of what they used to be, And that was the thing, is every year it was like, okay, well, we got to cut the budget. You got to cut the budget. You got to cut the budget. So I'd be going to these studios and be going, yeah, you guys are doing great jobs. Keep it up. I'm going to pay you 15% less now. Sorry. And if they didn't like it, well, then they didn't get any more work. But because the whole industry was shrinking and everybody knew it, everybody played ball and we kept still getting, good work. But one of the things I did then, they kept wanting to cut the budget. I'm like, well, let's cut out the middleman. Like, I'll direct the shows, and we'll just rent studio space directly. I'll direct them. We'll do that, and we'll save a ton of money, so we avoid all these markups. And it was like then, especially, that I realized how, what kind of budget you could actually produce these shows for. And it was way less what people had been charging. The reality of the situation was, it was very different. And especially, if you own your own space, it helps you do it even cheaper because you're not dealing with the same kind of overhead. So I started doing that. So I got these relationships, so I, through all the producing and directing of anime that I did at the time, I had relationships with a lot of different studios. And I did a lot of casting for things. So basically that put me in a position where, I don't know, maybe people owed me favors and whatnot. So when I started getting back into acting more, while I worked at Central Park Media, it was a little bit of a conflict of interest for me to be performing in these shows, although I did do some parts in some of the shows that we produced. I was asked to do parts in some shows other people produced, and I did a little bit. The people at CPM would have been really pissed had I, gone out and gotten a lead in a Media Blasters show.
Right.
Because they were competition. Although I did, when I knew I was kind of going to be leaving CPM, I did get a lead in a Media Blasters show in, Night Hunter's Eternity. I played a guy named Senna, who was, one of the main characters. And that was while I was still at CPM, and I sort of did that on the down low. But I knew I was on my way out, so, figured, well, if I get busted, I'm leaving anyway. So when I left CPM and kind of, started my own company, pretty much to do the same work, but just from the outside, but I knew that I could offer services at a low rate and still give them high quality because, I knew what it cost to do things. And the other thing is I had all these studio people that I worked with for years who I had great relationships with, so I could get studio space really cheap. I had good relationships with all the actors. But as soon as I went free agent like that, I was free to audition for and perform in other people's shows. And at that point, all these people I've been working with over the years, I'm like, hey guys, remember all that work I gave you? Payback. And I never, would demand everybody, you must cast me. But I'm like, give me an audition. Just give me a shot, Because I understand, listen, if I read for the part and I stink, then don't put me in your show. If I'm wrong for the role, then I shouldn't have the part. But I got auditions, and I just started landing parts, And 4 kids scooped me up, immediately upon being, free from CPM. And then I started doing stuff for them, and I was getting cast in all their shows. And then after that, just kind of word gets around, and I would just have people call me up for, either to give me a part in something or audition for this, that, and the other. And then I've been doing it ever since. And then from there, it kind of branched out, and I got I kind of got back into doing theater stuff again, started doing a little commercial work, and I had mentioned before now, I do a lot of audiobook stuff. I do ESL, which is English as a second language, so I'm teaching foreign people how to speak good English, which is, a fun gig. So there you go.
Well, that's definitely a long intro to this interview, and I think it's a good intro. So we're going to take this chance to take a short break, but don't go anywhere because my special guest isn't going to go anywhere. Hopefully. Maybe. We'll see. So keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan, everything you want and nothing you don't.
Hi, I'm the Celtic Guardian, but you guys can call me Dave. When I'm not busy being sacrificed in order to summon monsters that are halfway useful, I like to listen to 918 The Fan, one of the hottest online radio shows on the worldwide internet highway. Thing. Did I mention I have like 1,400 attack points? That's a big deal in my world, you know. Plus, I have a sword. Does the Blue Eyes White Dragon have a sword? No. Fuck the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Seriously.
Hey, everybody out there tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. We are back, and would you like to give him a sign of life, my special guest? Are you still here?
There you go. A little sign of life. A phlegm glob just for the fans.
Oh, I'm sure they loved it.
It was shaped like Pikachu in the same color. Gross.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I haven't eaten yet, so we're good. I was kind of curious because you're in a market in New York City, and lately, obviously, I've noticed the trend because a lot of the people that I've been interviewing have been from California or they've been from Texas. Is the anime market like shrinking there, or do you think it'll expand again?
It's shrunk. It's almost as gone as it can be. I mean, when CPM, went under, that took a big piece of it out. Right Stuff used to do some of their dubs in New York, and they don't dub anything anymore. So that, and Media Blasters does a lot less than they used to, And, but see, the thing here is like, the two biggest anime shows of all time, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, are still going on here. So that's the thing. Is it's funny because I run into the crew from Texas and LA and stuff at conventions and things like that, and whereas they're doing a wide variety of shows, I'm doing just as much work, although it's just on a couple of massive giant series, So the anime market is basically gone. I don't know. It's almost weird to call Pokemon anime, and I know that might bug some people, but like Pokemon is like just so ubiquitous. You know what I mean? How a lot of anime, it's like niche market stuff. Pokemon is like a completely different animal.
I can understand that.
Yeah, and Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of the same way. So like that stuff's still going on here, and there's a couple other little things. There's a show called Tai Chi Chasers, which is anime. I believe it was like a Korean-Japanese co-production, but that. I play one of the lead characters in, and we're more or less just done with the first season, and that's going to premiere on, national network TV, I think, in September. So that was still going on here. There's still some stuff, but there is not really much of an anime scene in New York anymore. I mean, barely at all. There's a ton of voice acting and voiceover work. LA and New York are the biggest places for entertainment. It dwarfs anything that's in Texas, except for anime, because Funimation is obviously staying very busy down there. But there's tons and tons of work here. But and I said this to you during the break. Anybody who just sort of put all their eggs in the anime basket, they're in a lot of trouble now, or just not working. Because that work is gone. But anyone who is smart would have branched out and tried to get involved in working on this project and this kind of project and that kind of project. So there's still a lot of things happening here. I work on a bunch of different animated series. They're just not from Japan. Either they're original ones from the U.S. I've been working on stuff from India a lot lately.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so work is totally happening, but yeah, it has the New York anime scene is beyond dry, I'd say.
Well, I will say, since you mentioned Pokemon, and I'm sure I have to bring it up or else I'll be chased, by the fans. I kind of fell out of Pokemon. Like I was one of the kids who was all into it, and then they added like 200 or 300 more, and I got completely lost. And I haven't been into it for a really long time. But I'm amazed at, the staff here and the fans who still play the game so intensely, who still know, 500 plus Pokemon. I mean, does
Yeah,
the
there's
fandom...
like about 650 now, I think.
Yeah, that just boggles my mind. Does the fandom ever sort of seem overwhelming?
No, I mean, it's interesting because there are tons of people who are really into Pokemon, but not the show. They're into the games. They're into the DS games, or they're into the card games. Pokemon, you can't think about Pokemon as like an anime or as like a show even. It's like a giant three-headed monster, and those three heads are the video games, the card games, and the TV show. And all of those things are immensely popular, but some people are only into one. I have a good friend of mine who owns a comic and card shop in Livingston, New Jersey called New World Manga, and they have Pokemon card tournaments there all the time, and a lot of those kids love the card game, but they don't really watch the show. They just really like the game, and then there's some kids, God, my son's friends are all crazy with the DS and the Pokemon and stuff on the DS, but some of them don't watch the show or don't watch the card game. And then there's people who love the show and don't play any of the games, So, I mean, I'm very appreciative of the popularity and the fandom of Pokemon because it's keeping me and a lot of other people employed. But it is neat to be involved in a show that literally I could go to Africa in some little remote village where they're speaking like some kind of click language and be like, Pikachu, and they'd go Pikachu, like they totally know what I meant, So it is kind of fun to be involved in something that, especially because I have children who are young, that all their classmates watch my work, So right now, that gives me like super dad street cred.
Well, you can exchange that later.
Yeah, So I mean, it's it is fun. I mean, I don't see it as being overwhelming. I mean, I've never, the other thing is like I've always been very like with a lot of fans like who there's some conventions that I get invited to, and certain places like where your producer Chris saw me up in Boston. I'm a major staple up there at that convention, and I love it and have a great relationship with the fans. But like even up there, like if they get it that this is like a business, it's my job, So if they want to jump me with all sorts of crazy weird Pokemon questions, I'm just like, can't answer that. Sorry, And I have to say, for the most part, people totally respect that answer, which I appreciate.
That's good. I mean, I've had both negative and positive experiences at conventions, but you're meeting different folks. You can never really judge them just based on what they like. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's haters. There's plenty of haters, which to me is a little weird. It's like, why are you expending so much energy to hate this thing that you can simply ignore? If you don't like show X, don't watch it. There's that whole thing. But for the most part, I don't really, I don't see a lot of that. Even people who I know are haters on the internet about things. When you meet them in person, usually they're very nice.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Now, I'm curious, is there anything that you're working on that you haven't plugged yet that you're allowed to talk about that the listeners can look forward to?
Well, let's see. That I haven't plugged yet. Well, it's funny. A lot of the stuff I'm working on, just may not be seen here. I've done a lot of pilots for things that might happen here. I've worked on a lot of things for foreign markets. So there's a couple of shows that are either on the air or will be on the air in India that will feature my work, because India is an interesting market as they will do things in English to broadcast in India. So, like, I'm working on a couple of original series that are broadcasting there. I've sort of cornered, like, the dopey, like, stoner surfer guy market in India. I get, I play this dude a lot in India, so like that I get that part all the time in the Indian shows for some reason. I did another audiobook recently, which I believe went out till maybe last month. It's another autobiography. It's called Through My Eyes. It's the autobiography of Tim Tebow, who is the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. He's only been in the league 1 year, but he's already got a book. But it's mostly about he's very religious, so it's sort of about how his faith and upbringing allowed him to achieve at the level that he has. And there's also, for college football fans, they'd go nuts because he was a big-time college quarterback for Florida. So I just did that audiobook, which was pretty cool. I'll be at Otakon next weekend.
Ooh, so we can get some real-life stalkers following you. Maybe
Absolutely.
No, I'm kidding.
Come and say hi, But yeah, so I mean, but besides that, like right now, I mean, just working on various series, doing pilots. There's always some sort of crazy thing going on. Pokemon is rolling along very nicely. New Pokemon movie just came out in Japan, so we'll be working on that soon, which is nice,
I always love the movies. The movies always seem like they're like you could watch the movies and not really necessarily have to watch the show, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. The movies generally don't fall into like the timeline, the show timeline, so you can watch them separately. And the other thing is the movies are beautiful. The animation in the movies is so nice. And when you're doing a TV series where you have a new episode every week forever, because that's what Pokemon, it's like they're up to, 700 episodes? And this thing airs every week. You've got to crank out that animation every week. So you don't get to take exactly the same amount of time and artistry that they do with the movies. I think the movies are really gorgeous. Even just the sound quality, the M&Es, the soundtracks. M&Es is music and effects, if you don't know what I mean. Is just so much fuller. We do them in HD and surround, all this stuff. So, yeah, working on the movies is a treat. It's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that because we're actually, like I said, we're just getting going on that now.
And now there's something kind of off topic that I wanted to ask you about. It was on your Wikipedia, so it might be not real. But I'm curious, did you dub anybody in a Japanese show or a movie called The Machine Girl?
Oh yeah, I'm in Machine Girl.
Oh God!
Machine.
That is such
Have you seen
it? Yes. So horrible.
Yeah, Machine Girl was put out by whatever Media Blaster's live action label is, and it's I can't remember. I play a couple of different people in it, but yeah, it's this live action like gore fest about this girl who's missing an arm, and they put like a giant machine gun there, and I did a lot of screaming in that.
I don't know what the genre is, but like it's this weird genre in Japan that's just very gory, and I don't see many of those brought to the U.S. So when I saw you in that, I was like, oh wow, what do you think of that type of movie? I mean, it's entertaining for I guess the gore and the cheesy factor of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, part of it, I'm a little bit of a mercenary when it comes to work, or at least put it this way, I'm way more honest about being a mercenary about work, as some people I think just don't like to say it. But listen, there was a check attached to that project. Hence, I liked it. But it was fun because it was so different, I think I got my head like liquefied by the machine gun because I played this guy, in this big fight sequence in the beginning, and, I'm kicking some butt, and the thing ends with her like doing a flip, straddling my neck, putting her giant Gatling gun arm right to my forehead and turning me into soup.
That sounds amazing.
Like, and I remember just getting fun. In the studio, I'm like, wait, I got like a bunch of water, so I was all like, I made it really wet. Well, I did another movie. This was, I don't know, a year and a half ago, something like that, which is another kind of gore movie. which was so much fun. It's called Dead Snow, and Dead Snow is a Norwegian horror movie that won a bunch of awards at Sundance, like a year and a half ago, something like that. And they dubbed it into English, and it actually got a theatrical release in English, which was kind of neat to have stuff playing in the movie theaters here that I did. Yeah, and it's about, like, you know, a group of attractive young college students who go to a cabin up in the, you know, up in the wintry woods of Norway to, like, you know, drink and party and have sex. And they find underneath the cabin this old forgotten box of Nazi gold. And once they take the gold and start, you know, whatever, once they take it, it brings the Nazi zombies up out of the snow to kill them. So I was in a movie about Nazi zombies, and I got to tell you, it's so funny. It's crazy. And just like over the top, gory, bizarre. Like, I mean, it's one of those things that's so kind of gross and gory that you have to laugh.
Exactly, yeah.
And the character I played, because I actually just got it on DVD, because I was like at, oh geez, I don't remember. I was at Best Buy or something, and it was like on sale because IFC, the Independent Film Channel, owns the rights, and like a bunch of IFC titles were on sale. And I saw it was like $7, and I'm like, I need to own this. And I watched it, and I'm sitting there laughing my butt off. The guy that I played, if it was done in America, would have been played by Jack Black. I was like the chubby funny guy, and I'd forgotten about all the jokes. Like, I sing in it. He does like an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. He does like a Homer Simpson thing. I mean,
have
it's
to
crazy.
find this movie now. I really
Dead
do.
Snow, it's called, and it's great. Another anime veteran, Ed Paul, who plays Giovanni in Pokemon, he's also one of the lead actors in it, and it was so much fun for me and him to be able to do this, you know. And again, something a little outside of the norm of what we do, but with that one, there was the added bonus of the fact that movie got like a lot of recognition at the time, and even got a theatrical release in English in the United States, which was a lot of fun. So, yep.
Well, I'm glad I got a chance to ask you about that. Now I know what movie to watch next as soon as I can get my hands on it. But I'm curious, for the fans out there who want to know, you know, what you're doing next, is there any place on the internet where they can, friend you or follow your Twitter or things like that?
I don't do Twitter, because, I mean, to be honest, I'm too busy to sit there and tweet about what I'm up to all the time, and nobody's that interesting that somebody needs to know the minutia of their life. I do have a Facebook. You can look me up there, but I'll also be blunt. Like, I generally don't friend people who are, like, under 18 because I don't know. I believe, you know, on the Facebook thing, I'll be uncensored sometimes, and I don't want to, you know, if I friend some 15-year-old and his mom or dad sees it and goes, what is this guy talking about? You know, I want to avoid that problem.
Right, I understand.
But, you know, feel free. Look me up on the Facebook. And more than anything, come find me at conventions, because that's the best place where I can talk to you personally about what's going on, this, that, and the other, and you can see what I'm up to. I do generally, I don't have like a fan site, because again, like I said, I'm busy, and, you know, I kind of, because I'm booked every day doing stuff, you know, so I don't have a lot of time to update this, that, and the other. I do kind of use the Facebook for that, like to promote what I'm doing or when I'm doing something. But like I said, I'll be at Otakon. I'll be a guest at Otakon next weekend. And that's, you know, I know that's a popular con, so any fans that are coming there, by all means, come by and say hi, and we can talk about this, that, and the other. I guess the big thing I want to promote the most right now would be Tai Chi Chasers that comes out in the fall. You know, hopefully people will watch it and they'll dig it, and, you know, and we'll do another season, you know. So I play the character of Finn, who is sort of this sullen young man who's one of the heroes of the show. And that one was like extra fun for me because one of my son's names is Finn.
Oh,
so,
that's cool.
Yes, it was his birthday yesterday.
Oh, well, happy birthday to him, and happy birthday to you, because I know that's tomorrow.
My birthday is tomorrow, that's right. Very good.
Yes.
So, bring me birthday presents at Otakon. How about that?
Well,
and then I'll grant you a one-on-one interview. I'm just kidding. But.
Well, I know that 2 or 3 of my staff are going to be there, so they'll have business cards, but I'm not sure that counts as like a birthday card.
Oh no,
so,
that's plenty.
Well, we'll have to see what we can do for that.
Why, thank you.
And now I'm kind of curious, since we're nearing the end of this interview, if you'd be willing to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
Sure.
Basically, we ask everybody if they'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
Sure, okay.
Awesome. Now, usually we just ask you to say a single line, and we do this live, so if you screw up, everybody gets to hear it. But they love when you screw up, so don't be too afraid.
Okay.
Basically, we ask if you could say, hi, my name is, you insert your name, I do this, you can insert characters, or that you're, a director, whatever you feel comfortable with there. And the important part is, and you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody's writing it down.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, everybody, this is Tom Wayland. I'm the director of the hit anime series Pokemon, plus I play a bunch of the creatures. I'm the voice of Crow in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. I was Storm Shadow in G.I. Joe. And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
Perfect. No bloopers, no nothing. Look at you.
Sorry to disappoint with my professionalism.
I like to see professionalism. And is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there?
Thank you so much for your support of the anime industry, of the stuff I've been working on, the stuff all my colleagues around the country have been working on, and the support of, great things like 91.8 The Fan, because it's, it's just you guys are helping us promote, and, I can't thank you enough. So, thanks.
Well, thank you so much, and for anybody out there that missed any of this interview, don't fret. It'll be up on the website within the next few days, so keep it tuned.
Oh, wait, you know what? Oh. One more thing I got to say, because I can drop this. I know, like, a lot of, fans listen to this channel. If you haven't heard already, I did put Vic Mignogna in an upcoming episode of Pokemon. So I know how popular Vic is, and Vic had been wanting to work with me for a while, and I've wanted to work with him, so he was in New York. And so stay tuned. Coming up later this summer, you'll get to hear Vic, on Pokemon. So. Well,
maybe we'll ask him about that. I think we have him scheduled near the end of August. I need a calendar. I don't have the calendar. But thank you for plugging that. And as I was saying, if anybody out there missed any of the interview, it'll be up on the website within the next few days. So keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want and nothing you don't.